Welcome, welcome, welcome. I would like to welcome you to episode 299 of the Unpopular podcast. This is the man, the myth, the legend, Jalen Hunter. And here at the Unpopular podcast, I'm not really asking you to agree with me. I'm just asking you to hear me out. Let me first start this episode by giving a huge congratulations to Argentina for winning the World Cup. Their first World Cup win since, 1986. I'm gonna be real with y'all. I'm gonna be real, and hey, I know how a lot of shows will come on and try to act like they're experts. I don't know anything about soccer. Like, I can follow the game, but I don't know much about soccer. But one thing that I do know is that World Cup was probably one of the most exciting games I've ever watched. And if you look on social media, if you look at a lot of the people that talk about it, they agree with me too. Going into the match, there was a lot of storylines. I talked about this on the last episode, but there were a lot of storylines going into it. And usually when you have a game of that magnitude, it doesn't really live up to the hype. I mean, like remember the NBA Finals, the storied French, the Lakers and Celtics. I think it was 2009 or 10, and storied franchise, the two most winningest franchises. And that NBA Finals, while yes, the Lakers did win it, it wasn't that exciting. At least 2010, it wasn't that exciting. I mean, Game 7 was god awful, but Kobe got his ring. R.I.P. to Kobe. It just didn't live up to the hype. Going into this match, you had an Argentina team that was, had an incredible run to the World Cup finals. But they're one of the teams where they continue to make it or continue to just make it to the doorstep, but hasn't won since 1986. And when we talk about Messi, a lot of people were hesitant to call him the GOAT or the greatest of all time because he did not have a World Cup win. He won Copa de America. He won so many tournaments and so many matches. He just never won the World Cup. So you had that going for you. Also, it was reported that this was going to be Messi's last World Cup. Now, we don't know if that's the case or not, but that's what was said. So you have an Argentina team for legacy, trying to win since 1986. You had Messi, trying to go out with the blaze of, on the blades of glory, trying to win his first World Cup, the one thing that's eluded him his entire career. And then the other side, you had France. France is a powerhouse when we talk about soccer or football, whatever you want to call it. A powerhouse. They won, 4 years ago, the last World Cup. They're trying to repeat. And then you have Mbappe. Mbappe, when we talk about the greatest, like the best players in the league right now, or the best players in a sport, he's definitely up there. With Cristiano Ronaldo, he's kind of getting a little older and he's starting to fade out, and his career may be over soon just because of the sheer age. There's a select class, a select number of people that are great. And that's in every sport. It's hard to be great. Everyone that plays a professional sport is good. Don't get me wrong. And if you think they're not good, go to a local gym, go to a local field or whatever, and watch a professional play. They're all good. If they made it to the pros, they're good. But there's a level of there's greatness. They're in Mbappe. Wow, only 24? He is one of the best players in the world. I put him in the Messi class. I guess I'll say Ronaldo since, still he's still Ronaldo. Neymar, One thing that made this game so good is because of not only the storylines, but the things that the game played to the storylines exactly how it should have. And exactly what made the game great was the fact, Messi starts out with a goal. He gets I think that's his first World Cup Finals goal. He gets that goal. And then Argentina goes up 2-0. You think, oh, it's over with for France. It's over with for France. Argentina's going crazy. You know, they sliding, celebrating. The homie that scored, I forgot his name. I apologize, but he started crying on the field. Like, you felt the momentum. Like, Argentina had all the momentum, like all of it. Then you get to like the 90th minute, and then Mbappe scores 2 goals in 2 minutes himself. One on like a penalty, one on a yellow card kick. Like look, that man put that team on his back, and of course the game finished 3-3. Then they went to penalty kicks, and boy, they lit. When I tell you, social media went crazy over the French goalie. So Argentina won the penalties 4-2, ultimately won the game. Again, capturing their first World Cup since 1986. And don't get me wrong. I understand this. You can say first World Cup since 1986, but that doesn't tell the whole story. Argentina is still one of the powerhouses in football. One of the countries that are powerhouses. You know, France, Brazil, Argentina, Portugal for some years. Argentina has been that good. The problem is they just haven't won. A lot of people. One of the biggest reasons why people haven't called, or some people are hesitant to call Messi, or before the World Cup, to call Messi, you know, one of the greatest, is because of Argentina has lost some heartbreakers when we talk about the World Cup. You know, and remember, during this entire World Cup, Argentina lost the first game. I think it was to like El Salvador or something like that. Or Saudi Arabia or something. So Argentina, it's not like they just haven't won. It's the fact of they've been they're a powerhouse and they just haven't been able to knock the door down. So that title, Argentina, they're gonna fold, or Argentina sucks, or Messi, he chokes in big moments. He can win everything. He can win, you know, all the golden foots and everything, or player of the match, whatever, but they have not been able to win it until now. And I'm happy for Messi, man. I've always been, again, I don't know much about soccer. I'll be real with you. But I do know I follow Messi. And let me just read to you some of his accolades before we go. Goddamn. Boy, Messi. Hold on, Messi be going crazy. Damn. You know what? You know what's funny about this? Messi has so many awards, it doesn't even fit Wikipedia. Damn. That's crazy. I'll say this though. I think it's hard, and I've always been on the. I understand the importance of awards. I understand the importance of championships. I understand the importance of Super Bowls, World Series, Stanley Cups. I understand the importance of them. I understand that's why a lot of people don't talk about Charles Barkley in the same light that they talk about Shaquille O'Neal, because one has championships, one doesn't. That's the reason why some people don't talk about Clyde Drexler in this when we talk about greatest small forwards of all time, because the fact that he doesn't have a championship. Or no, not Clyde Drexler. You can also say Dominique Wilkins. That's why when we talk about some of the greatest football players of all time, people forget about Barry Sanders. He just doesn't have a championship. What I'll say is this though. I was one of the people that I see Lionel Messi and he goes crazy. Like, he has always been one of the greatest in my opinion. And now, to me, it's hard. You can have you can have in football, right? In football, soccer, whatever you want to call it, the creme de la creme is the World Cup. You can win, all the golden boots. You can win all the championship leagues. You can win the FIBA. You can win all the balladors. Like, you can win as many of those as you want. If you do not get a World Cup under your belt, a lot of people, especially in the soccer football world, they are going to question, or it's going to be an asterisk. Hell, again, back to Charles Barkley. Nobody talks about Charles Barkley is an MVP. Like, he won an MVP in the league. No, it's just, well, you haven't won a championship. Hell, KD was going down that route too for a quick little minute. Like, no, people were not talking about KD, or people talking about KD in a crazy light because he didn't win a championship. Hell, you see what they're talking about with Russell Westbrook. And I know. Okay, guys, I know. I'm going to bring a topic back to something that I'm familiar with. I'm going to bring it always back to basketball, because that's just me. I'm a basketball player. I like basketball. All I'm saying is this. Congratulations to Argentina for winning the World Cup. Congratulations to Lionel Messi for winning his first World Cup in a litany. And he has a incredibly decorated career. It's just a lot of people, well, if you do not have that World Cup, you ain't nothing. Which, in my opinion, is furthest from the truth. And I do want to, even though I'm usually not one of the, hey, shouts out to the losers. I do want to give a shout out to Mbappe. I know that after the loss, he did receive some racist comments and racist remarks for, not only France not winning the World Cup, but just being black in a predominantly non-black area. I do want to give a shout out to him, because while Messi was Messi, and Messi is Messi, Mbappe was the best player, not only on the field during the World Cup, but the entirety of the World Cup. I think he had like 8 goals. And I know it sucks losing and everything, but I would not be surprised if we look up, hell, by the next year, maybe in the next few years, and we look up and it's a clear-cut best player. And that's even with Neymar still playing, and Neymar playing at the top shape that he is. I think Mbappe, being only 24, could arguably, if he continues the trajectory that he's on, keep winning awards, and we're going to see what happens if he goes back to, what's the team he plays for again? Completely forgot the team, but goes back to his club, which Messi plays for, actually. I think we'll look up one day and say that Mbappe is one of the greatest. Kylian Mbappe is one of the greatest football players we've ever seen. And to be 24 years old and or 23, 24, I don't know, be one of those and be the clear-cut best player on the field. And I don't like throwing people under the bus, but he's not the reason why France did not win the World Cup. In fact, he's the reason why that World Cup final was arguably the greatest World Cup final we've ever seen. You have a person that doesn't care much about soccer or much about football in the slightest. I was glued to my TV. It kind of had that Tiger Woods effect. You know when Tiger Woods on Sundays, you don't know nothing about golf. You don't know nothing about any like the world or US Open or whatever, but you know if Tiger Woods is in contention, you're going to watch. That's how I felt watching that World Cup match. And everyone thought it was over. It's about to go into like the last minute or last 2 minutes, and Mbappe scores 2 goals. Shouts out to Argentina. Shouts out to France. Shouts out to Messi. Shouts out to Kylian Mbappe. You guys put on a show, and you guys gave us one of the greatest, if not the greatest, World Cup final ever. So, Messi's still the GOAT, though. Let's move forward. If Messi is like, and last thing I'm going to say on this, if Messi is like LeBron, Mbappe is like Steph Curry right now. Just saying. Let's move forward. So the biggest news that actually dropped yesterday was Robert Sarver officially sold the Phoenix Suns for what, $4 billion? I'm looking up who he sold it to. It's a dude, Matt Ishbilla. Look, I'm almost 1,000% sure I messed your name up, my guy. I apologize completely. But the Phoenix Suns were officially sold for $4 billion with a B. This comes off the heels, because people are going to forget this. This comes off the heels of yet another report and yet multiple more allegations of a toxic workplace environment that Robert Sarver had created in the Phoenix in the Phoenix organization. And the thing, I've heard a lot of people today, or a lot of people these last few days, or since the report came out, talking about these are just allegations. Allegations made a man sell a team. Here's the thing, and I hate to bring Deshaun Watson in this, but you know how people question Deshaun Watson, not because it was 1 or 2 allegations. I mean, in fact, I'm almost sure if it was 1 or 2 allegations for Deshaun Watson, not only would it probably not be a story, he probably would have never been suspended. And it probably wouldn't have been as big as it was. The reason why it was so big is it was like 25 plus women that came out and had damn near the same exact story, the same exact accusation, and same exact story of how it happened. You see, while this is a new, or the recent allegations that came out about Robert Sarver, while they are new, this is not new behavior from Robert Sarver. I would understand if, it's a one time thing, 2 time thing, like Robert Kraft. Robert Kraft, we remember the whole massage incident, swept that under the rug. Robert Sarver he's had allegations for decades. And the worst part about it is he owns the Phoenix Mercury, which is a women's team in the WNBA. And most of the allegations that you hear spews racist rhetoric, sexually inappropriate comments, sexually inappropriate jokes, sexually inappropriate advances, racist advances. The thing about it is, one of the hardest things in sports is not making it. And honestly, the hardest thing in sports isn't really about the sport. The hardest thing in sports is making an owner account or holding an owner accountable for something. Hell, we're seeing that struggle right now with Dan Snyder and the Washington organization. There have been multiple allegations again, multiple reports, multiple investigations on Dan Snyder. Yet and still, he is still the owner of the Washington Commanders right now. You see, I guess you can say in one hand that this is a triumphant day that Robert Sarver finally does not have ownership of the Phoenix Suns. But on the other hand, you can think, well, I don't know what this means about the Phoenix Mercury. Oh, no, I think the Phoenix Mercury was sold in the $4 billion. But the bigger question is, I'm almost 1,000% sure Robert Sarver is not the only owner that has dirt in their closet, or Dan Snyder is not the only owner that shouldn't be owning a team. But one thing that I've always said, I've said this from day one. There's no way you can tell an owner how to spend their money. There's no way you can tell a billionaire, a millionaire, a thousandaire, a hundredaire how to spend their money. And while, again, I'm happy that Robert Sarver is not the owner of the teams anymore. But the thing that I question is why it took so long. Why it took this long. And I say this long because go back. If you want to search, go back to see how many allegations Robert Sarver has, and how most of his allegations never amounted to anything. And not saying because he didn't do it, it's fact of clearly it didn't lead to him having to sell the team until now. Hell, there's former players that have come out against racist rhetoric by Robert Sarver. But I guess you can say this is a triumphant day, or yesterday was a triumphant day with the sell. Shouts out to Matt Ishbilla. Again, I'm sure I'm messing your name up. I apologize, my G, for buying the Suns and Mercury for around $4 billion. And this, of course, comes after a Robert Sarver probe and yet another or more allegations coming out about another incident of workplace misconduct. So let's move forward. Damn, bro, I hate it had to transition to Anthony Davis, but damn. This is yet, and I hate to say it this way, but it's true, man. This is yet another year or another season where Anthony Davis gets hurt. And Anthony Davis has to miss a extended amount of time. This time, it was, I think, an ankle injury. And I saw the play. It was against Denver. Anthony Davis, I've never seen someone injure an ankle while in the air. Like, I understand you coming down. He was in the air, and I think his ankle collided with Nikola Jokic's knee or something like that, or shin or something like that. And of course, now Anthony Davis is going to be out for at least a month. The point. Here's the thing. I understand the whole storied franchise. I get it. Of course, my beloved Wizards are not a storied franchise, but I understand the storied franchise label that the Lakers have. You know, all the champions. I think 16 championships. Some of the great names that have walked through the door, i.e., Magic Johnson, R.I.P. to Kobe Bryant, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Wilt Chamberlain, Shaquille O'Neal, LeBron James. I get it. I also understand that the ship to blow it up has kind of sailed. It kind of sailed this offseason when you could have got off of Russell Westbrook. You could have got off of some of the pieces. You instead get Patrick Beverley, who hasn't really done much. Lonnie Walker. You know, that ship to kind of blow it up has sailed. Because at this point, what are you getting? Who are you getting? How are you going to move pieces when teams know you need to move pieces? So I'm not talking about. There's no point of talking about blow it up at this point because it's not. They're not in the position to do that. What I'm talking about, and I know they don't want to admit it because of how much they traded to get Anthony Davis. And I also understand Anthony Davis helped and was a big reason why they won a championship in 2020. But I think you have to really sit down and think long and hard about your next move with Anthony Davis. Anthony Davis, and I understand Anthony Davis was just on a tear, averaging like 32, 34 points for the last like 8 or 9 games. I know he put a 55 bird on the Wizards in Washington. I get Anthony Davis has been hooping, and I said I even put a clip out on YouTube. Anthony Davis should, at least from his play, those 9 to 10 games, should be in the MVP discussion because how good he was playing. I also brought back the argument about Anthony Davis and Giannis Antetokounmpo, and why a lot of people, especially in the beginning, you know, when Giannis was on his ascension and Anthony Davis was going crazy in New Orleans, why a lot of people were questioning who is better. But the reason why I think that the Lakers should look long and hard and think long and hard about moving Anthony Davis is because what do we know? What variables do we know about Anthony Davis right now? We know that Anthony Davis is one of the best players when playing. And you can argue that Anthony Davis is a top 5, top 10 player when he's healthy. And we saw it for the last 9 or so games. But one thing that we also know, and one thing that year after year fans, and especially Lakers fans at this point, are starting to anticipate is that injury coming. And that injury that is going to put out or is going to keep Anthony Davis out for an extended period of time. And don't get me wrong. The Lakers understand, and the Lakers know, Lakers fans know, even though Lakers fans can be hella delusional, they're not dumb. They understand that this Lakers team is going absolutely nowhere without Anthony Davis, a healthy Anthony Davis. Even with LeBron James, even with Russell Westbrook, whether you trade him or not, this team cannot reach any heights without a healthy Anthony Davis, a healthy Anthony Davis that is playing to the level that we were seeing the last 9 games and the level that we saw in New Orleans. The problem is, and as Lakers fans know, that when healthy is strong. That when healthy, if available, is strong. Because 9 times out of 10, he has not been healthy or available. Now, some players are just fragile. And sometimes there's nothing you can do. And Derrick Rose, especially early in his career, was fragile. And that drastically affected his career. Brandon Roy, fragile. You can say it's fragile. You can say injury prone, whatever you want to call it. T-Mac, injury prone. Grant Hill, injury prone. Greg Oden, injury prone. Hell, in the beginning of his career, Steph Curry's hurt right now. Steph Curry, injury prone. Remember, Kyrie was injury prone. So there's players that are just more fragile than others. But one thing that we can say about Steph Curry is that in the biggest moments, he was there for his team. And that's why he has 4 championships, 2 MVPs. You know what's funny? What's crazy, and one of the biggest reasons why I really think, I'll be real with you, I think the Lakers should trade Anthony Davis. And that's no referendum and no shot at Anthony Davis' skills. I think that solidifies how great he is. There was a point in the league where you could really argue if Anthony Davis was the best player in the league. Or let's say one of the best players, because that's always been LeBron or something. Anthony Davis has the skill set to be one of, if not the best player in the league. I said this when I did my clip and talking about Giannis and everything. Anthony Davis is more skilled than Giannis. Anthony Davis is a more skilled basketball player than Giannis Antetokounmpo. 2-time MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo. NBA champion, Finals MVP Giannis Antetokounmpo. But why do we never put Giannis and Anthony Davis in the same conversation anymore? It's because Anthony Davis is always hurt. So I think the Lakers should trade him. And I think you trade him because while yes, you can build around his talent. His talent is generational. But do you want to put your faith in a player, or do you want to put your franchise in the hands of a player, while talented as hell, is also irreliable as far as being able to stay on the court because of injuries? I think Anthony Davis is a incredible player. I just also am a realist about what we've seen out of Anthony Davis, and there's no way that you can tack the label consistent with him because of his injury track. In fact, I'm going to look this up. I'm about to look up how many games Anthony Davis has played, and I can almost assure you that Anthony Davis has not played a lot in the last few years. Let me just look. Okay. Since going to, let's start with 2018-19, when he was his last year in New Orleans. He played 56 games. Cool. LA, he played 62. That means he missed 20 games in 2019, 2020. The year he won the championship, he played 36, but of course that was the year that the league stopped and went to the bubble. Stopped for a couple months, came back and went crazy. The year after that, 21-22, the year that the Lakers made it to the playoffs after beating the Golden State Warriors in the play-in, but also getting smacked by the Suns, he played 40 games. And so far this year, he's played 25 and is going to miss about a month. Talent-wise, it's undeniable how great Anthony Davis is. But in the same breath, the 2012 number one overall pick has not been reliable. Since 2000. And think about this. So the most he's ever played in a season is 75 games. That was 2016-17 to 2017-18. He played 75 games, averaged 28 points both seasons pretty much. 12 rebounds in 2016 and 2017 it was 11. How many blocks? Two blocks and 3 blocks if we're rounding up. Anthony Davis shoots 80, pretty much a 80% free throw shooter. So you have 64 games in his entire career. 64 games, 67, 68, 61, 75, 75, 56, 62, 36, 40, and now 25. Now, I do understand, because I think I heard Ramona Shelburne say this. I do understand, people give Anthony Davis a lot of flack. And the flack that we give Anthony Davis, we don't give players like Kawhi Leonard or players like Paul George, who, to give credit, Anthony Davis has played in the last few years. Anthony Davis has played more games than both of them. But I think one of the biggest reasons why we don't give them slack is because look at the state of the Clippers right now compared to the state of the Lakers. Now, I'm not putting that all on Anthony Davis, but who would you think in this moment right now? Even with age, think about that. Even with age. Because Anthony Davis is 29. Kawhi Leonard is a whopping 31. Who would you feel more comfortable with right now? Start building your franchise around right now. And this is even with the injury history. Leave it in the comments because I want to have this conversation. I want to have a dialogue. Who do you feel more comfortable right now building your franchise around? Anthony Davis or Kawhi Leonard? Again, I wish nothing but a speedy recovery for Anthony Davis. And I guess yet another injury. Yet again, we'll see in a month. So let's move forward. So week 15, of the NFL season came and went, and it's time for my weekly breakdown. Let me first say this, and I'm going to start with the Vikings having the biggest comeback in NFL history. Down 33 at halftime and ended up winning in overtime 39-36. The whole Jeff Saturday Jeff Saturday homecoming or Jeff Saturday parade, as far as games like this is why coaches, the litany of former coaches came out and spoke out against the Colts hiring Jeff Saturday as an interim head coach. when you're up, there's a reason why being the Vikings coming back from what? Coming back from 33 points down is the largest comeback in NFL history. Because that doesn't happen. These are professionals. I don't care. Now, I heard and I've seen all the Matt Ryan jokes, giving a 28-3 lead in the Super Bowl, now losing 33-0 or giving up a 33-0 lead. But this is so much more. This is a cataclysmic failure from the Colts on every way, in every facet. And that starts with the head coach. That was probably one of the absolute worst coaching performances I've seen ever. And it's not just on Matt Ryan. Now, I understand Jonathan Taylor went out, and it looks like he's going to be out for the season. And I hope for a speedy recovery from Jonathan Taylor. But hey, bro. Jeff Saturday, bro. And I respect him as a person. I love the dude as a person. He's a great person. I've been around him several times. But that was there. You gave up. You scored three points in the second half and in overtime, while the other team scored 39. That's why right there. That's why coaches, you hear Bill Cowher or other coaches like Rex Ryan even went hard at Jeff Saturday. It was a terrible coaching job. Terrible. Losing a 33-point lead is not just on the players. That's one thing I'll say. It's not just on the coaches, but it's not just on the players, bro. You had Kurt, boy. The legend grows. The Kirk Cousins 1 p.m. legend grows. That boy is a Hall of Famer at 1 p.m. Now, he didn't look like it the first half of the game. But that second half, boy. Oh, yeah. And the Vikings, I don't think I was kind of on the fence about how good the Vikings could be. Now, of course, it can still change. Maybe I'm still on the fence, but I'm kind of leaning towards no shot in hell that they even make any noise in the playoffs, because if this was any better team, if any other team in NFL history, hell, what's the worst team? If the Houston Texans had a 33-0 lead going into halftime, 9.99999 times out of 10, the Vikings would have lost that game. So, yeah. But they didn't. Shouts out to the Vikings for and shouts out to what's his name? Justin Jefferson. Justin Jefferson, I think maybe next game is going to break the single season receiving record. I think Cooper Kupp has it right now. Yeah, I think he's going to break that. So, shouts out to them. The Browns beat the Ravens 13-3. Hey, look, I told y'all, Tyler Huntley is cool, but he's not Lamar Jackson. And the Ravens team is built around Lamar Jackson. This team is not. Did you see how drastically different the Ravens looked without Lamar Jackson for an entire game? Like, it's look. I think you can kind of chalk up I'm pretty sure they're not going to win or they're probably not going to finish atop the AFC North now with Lamar Jackson out. I don't even know if they're going to beat the Falcons this week. Lamar Jackson doesn't look like he's playing. I wouldn't play if I was him. It looks like Calais Campbell's not even going to play. The Ravens are not good without Lamar Jackson. Even with this stout off defense that you want to talk. If there's no Lamar, they're not good. Bada bing, bada boom. The Bills beat the Dolphins 32-29. Remember I said Tua Tagovailoa, he doesn't have to win the game. He just has to play good. I'm not saying you have to outduel Josh Allen, but you have to play well. You see, listen to the rhetoric or listen to the analysis after this game. People are speaking a lot more glowingly of Tua even after a loss than they would than they've been for a while, because Tua looked good. One thing that Tua answered is, how are you going to play in inclement weather? And he played well. He played good enough to win the game. It just, you're going against Josh Allen, and of course they kicked the field goal to win the game. Tua played great. Tua played good enough. This Dolphins team is good enough to make some loud noise in the playoffs. Of course, the question is still going to be Tua and how does he fare, but because he played well and because he looked, played eye to eye and looked eye to eye to Josh Allen in that game, more people are confident in the Dolphins now. Even after a loss, I told y'all that. Look, I don't just be coming up here to speak, man. I know what I be talking about sometimes. But shouts out to the Bills for beating the Dolphins 32-29. Go to Sunday. The Saints beat the Falcons 21-18. You remember when the Falcons for like a week was the best, was the top of the NFC North or NFC South? How fast that has changed. Now, I think both teams aren't that good. I'll be real with you. The Saints have lost the most games, I think, in like a decade, for their franchise. Well, yeah, I don't know. Nobody watched that game unless you lived in Atlanta or New Orleans. Nobody watched that game. So, shouts out to the Saints. The Steelers, I'm shocked. I definitely thought the Steelers were going to lose this game. The Steelers beat the Panthers 24-16. I thought the Panthers were going to ride that win that they had against the Jets, which was a really good win. I thought Sam Darnold was going to play better than Mitch Trubisky. I was drastically wrong. The Steelers defense came to play. Mitch Trubisky came to play like that Steelers team looked really good. And that Panthers team looked really bad. So, shouts out to the Steelers, man. I was shocked. Because the Steelers haven't looked good this year. And, again, the Steelers didn't look good last year, especially with Mitch throwing, 3 interceptions? And I thought that the Panthers were going to look better, and they did not. So, the Eagles beat the Bears 25-20. But the conversation coming out of this game is Jalen Hurts has a sprained shoulder and more than likely will be out, or leaning more towards being out against the Cowboys this week, which is, of course, is a huge game, divisional game. The Eagles are still top of the division, or top of the NFC, and the Cowboys, we'll talk about in a second, but the Cowboys are still the Cowboys. They're still vying for a top seed. I do not view the Eagles situation the same as the Ravens situation. Meaning how the Ravens are built around Lamar, like it's Lamar Jackson and then the Ravens. The Ravens are built around Lamar Jackson. I feel because of how dynamic this defense is, because of how dynamic the offensive line is, because of how dynamic the running game is, I feel Jalen Hurts unlocks this team and makes them damn near unbeatable. But I do think that if Gardner Minshew plays, he can beat the Cowboys. And it's not just because of Gardner Minshew, but it's because the Eagles is the deepest team in the league and the best, like the overall best team in the league. And now, yes, there's a reason why Jalen Hurts is an MVP candidate. There's a reason why this offense looks great with Jalen Hurts. There's a reason why a lot of people are touting Jalen Hurts as one of the best quarterbacks in the league, and I get it. So it's going to be a huge loss, clearly, and I wouldn't be surprised if they lose. I'm just saying they could win without Jalen Hurts. Not for a long period of time, but if they have to play the Cowboys without Jalen Hurts, they can lean on their running game. They can lean on their defense with Darius Slay and all them. They can lean on their offensive line. So we'll see, but they beat the Bears. And Justin Fields had like one of the greatest runs that not count in NFL history. It just didn't count because like a hold or something. But hey, man. The Chiefs beat the Texans 30-24. You're starting to, even though they are the worst team, you're starting to realize, and you understand when people say any given Sunday, and you're still playing a professional team, because the Texans have been giving, the Texans almost beat the Cowboys last week, and now they almost beat it took overtime to beat the Chiefs. But the Chiefs won. Jared McKinnon ran the ball in overtime, or ran it in for a touchdown in overtime to seal it. Patrick Mahomes, I think, threw three touchdowns, no interceptions. I think that right now it's like a seesaw. Well, I don't have it a seesaw, but I think a lot of people have the MVP as a seesaw race. And right now I have Patrick Mahomes as the MVP. I've always had Patrick Mahomes as the MVP. That's a lie. Probably since the second half of the season, I've had Patrick Mahomes. Definitely the first half, I had Jalen Hurts. People are kind of doing it week by week as far as who they think should be the MVP. I think it's Patrick Mahomes. The Cowboys. The Cowboys lost to the Jaguars 40-34. I'm starting to say this here. The problems that the Cowboys have, the problems that the Cowboys have are starting to rear its ugly head at the worst times. You're seeing a complete contrast of teams when we talk about the Cowboys and the Jaguars and the Lions. We'll talk about the Lions in a second, but the Jaguars and the Lions, they're peaking at the right time. They're playing their best football closer to the season. They're playing their best football closer to the playoffs. Not saying the Jaguars are not really they're in playoff contention, but they're playing their best football. The Cowboys, on the other hand, you're starting to see the defense is struggling. Dak Prescott is struggling, and a pick six ended the game in overtime. Now, yeah, you can say it was Noah Brown. He wasn't able to hold on to the ball. It just landed in the Jaguars defender's hands, and then bada bing, bada boom, they scored. But Dak Prescott is missing a lot. I think he has like 10 turnovers. Look, this Cowboys team is not looking as unstoppable as it was when they played the Vikings. And now we're starting to look at the Vikings and think, well, they were down 33-0 against the Colts. All I'm saying. The Lions beat the Jets 20-17. Again, the Lions are peaking at the right time. The Lions are a good team. Nobody wants to play the Lions. They're good offensively. They're good defensively. The Jets are good defensively too, but the Lions won. So shout out to the Lions. The Broncos beat the Cardinals 24-15, effectively eliminating the Cardinals from playoff contentions. And I think, even though, yes. No, I hear a lot of people talking about now. There's a lot of people saying, well, the Broncos look great without, they won a game. They scored 24 points without Russell Wilson. And should they not start Russell Wilson? Let me tell you something. Russell Wilson is worth $250 million. There's no way in heaven or hell Russell Wilson will not be starting for this team. And don't let it fool you. The Cardinals suck. Now, yes, the Broncos are not good, but the Cardinals suck. Even with Colt McCoy, they suck. Cliff Kingsbury will not be the coach. Now, yes, I don't think Nathaniel Hack will be the coach next year, but Cliff Kingsbury will not be the coach next year. A lot of those players, they're not good as far as NFL standard. So, yeah. And the Raiders beat the Patriots 30-24 in probably the wildest, dumbest ending I've ever seen in my life. In fact, I'm not the only one who said that. Ryan Clark has said that was the dumbest play ever. Almost everyone on ESPN, Fox Sports, all said it was the dumbest play they've ever seen. The Patriots lost on a lateral play or laterals, or they were trying to lateral the ball when they didn't need to. The score was tied 24-24. All you have to do was go down and go into overtime. Rashawn Stevenson, for some reason, lateral the ball to Jacoby Myers. Jacoby Myers then tries to throw a cross-field pass to, I don't know who he was throwing it to, but he threw it directly to Chandler Jones. Chandler Jones then gives the meanest stiff arm to Mac Jones I've ever seen, and they win. This is all at the end. This is the last play of the game. You know, I had my doubts, and I've been very critical about Mac Jones. And I've said, you know, I'm not too sure how good Mac Jones really is. I've had my doubts. I'm starting to realize I may be a little too harsh on Mac Jones. Yo, Mac Jones has regressed tremendously, but I don't think it's his fault. I mean, you don't have an offensive coordinator. You have Matt Patricia, who was a failed head coach, calling plays, and he was a defensive coordinator calling offensive plays. I don't know how you expect. He's in a lose-lose situation. And then that play on Sunday was just the epitome of everything that the Patriots are right now, and the reason why that they're 7-7. And that play more than likely will keep them out the playoffs. And if they do make the playoffs, I don't have no hope for them. But if they don't make the playoffs, trust and believe they're going to look back at this game and look back at that last play and think to themselves, damn, we did need to do that. That's all I'm saying. The Chargers beat the Titans 17-14. Justin Herbert was Justin Herbert. And the Titans, bro, the Titans are starting to, again, I don't trust the Titans in big game moments. Because teams are starting to figure the Titans out. Yes, Derrick Henry's going to run all over you guys, but do not, if you make Ryan Tannehill beat you, and I'm not saying Ryan Tannehill is trash, but if you make Ryan Tannehill beat you, you have a better shot of winning. That's just how it is. And the Chargers did that. So, yeah. Ooh. The Bengals beat the Buccaneers 34-23. The story of this game was the Bengals scored 17 unanswered points against the Buccaneers. Look, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I will not be surprised if this is a whole team issue for the Buccaneers. There's not a good unit to lean your hat on. And I'm not saying the defense is not as bad as it has looked, I guess, but there's not a redeeming. Tom Brady has been bad. Stats do not tell the whole story. Yes, I understand he's one of the league leaders in passes or whatever. He has not been good. And you're going against a young Bengals team that ran them out off the field after they were down, like they were up like 17-0 or 17-3 or something. And I think it was 17-3 or something. And the Bengals scored 17 unanswered points. Unanswered, like back to back to back to back. It was, look, I think the Buccaneers will probably make the playoffs because they're probably going to win the AFC North or South, I'm sorry. NFC South, I'm sorry. But you'd be a fool if you think they're going to make a deep playoff run. Now, if they do, I'll be shocked. But if you really banking on them making a deep playoff run, no, there's no way. From what you're seeing with this Buccaneers team, who are they beating? Who are they beating? Hell, if Washington makes the playoffs, I'll trust Washington, even with Taylor Heineke or Carson Wentz, over the Buccaneers right now because of how they're not good. That's all I'm saying. I can talk about this game for a while, but I'm not. For my sanity and for you guys' sanity, or for you guys' sake, I'm not going to talk about this game too much. The Giants beat the Commanders 20-12. I'm not going to talk about this game that much. I will say this. While the refs made a huge impact on the ending of the game. First with the Terry McLaurin ref exchange, where the ref told him, Terry McLaurin asked him, is he good? The ref told him to scoot up. He scooted up. He looked at the ref again and said, am I good? The ref said, you're good. As soon as the play started, Terry McLaurin didn't move. As soon as the play started, the ref threw a flag and said Terry McLaurin was down the line. So that was a touchdown called back. So then the very next play, Curtis Sam, homie for the Giants, was hugging Curtis Samuel, and they didn't call anything in the game. While that was a huge factor, I can't go without mentioning the fact that Taylor Heineke fumbled the ball twice. One time on like the Giants 5-yard line. Washington's still in playoff, like they're still in the playoff hunt. I think they have like a 30% chance or something. They just got to win out, which is also crazy because Washington has to win out, right? Let me tell you Washington's next few games. Washington has to play the 49ers. Jesus Christ. The 49ers, then they play, if I'm not mistaken, the Browns. And then the last game of the season, if I remember correctly, they have to play the Cowboys. Yep. And Jesus loves you. And Monday Night Football, you have the Packers beat the Rams 24-12. As I predicted, the Baker Mayfield high came to an end. It's crazy. Like, I think record-wise and losses-wise, the Rams are one of, if not the worst reigning Super Bowl champ. Like, from the Super Bowl season to the next season, I think they're the worst. Now, they've dealt with injury. They dealt with, Van Jefferson getting hurt, Cam Akers, Matthew Stafford, who's currently hurt, and Aaron Donald, who's currently hurt. They've been hurt everywhere. But that's not just it. Like, they just haven't been good. They've been awful. They're all of 4-10. They haven't been good. So, in the Packers keep winning. They have to win out, clearly, and they still have to play, the Vikings and I think the Lions and stuff. But and the Vikings put a number on them earlier this year. But the Rams are arguably the worst defending Super Bowl champions. And I don't know, I don't know what's going to happen. I told you I think that Jalen Ramsey might be gone if they're going to try to make some moves to get some picks or to bring someone in. The best option, I guess, right now is to trade Jalen Ramsey, but I don't know what's going to happen with the Rams, honestly. So, and that's been Week 15 breakdown. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you saw. Leave it in the comments. We'll talk about it. Trust me when I tell you, if you come into my comments, I try to be tamed, If you come into my comments and start talking wild about Washington, I'll be real with you. I'm probably not gonna do nothing. I'm not gonna do nothing. I just might say okay or something. I really just I built up the dramatics for nothing. So, lastly, before we go, I want to give a shout out to Alex Ovechkin. Alex Ovechkin became the third player in NHL history to score 800 goals. 800. The Great Eight, they call them. I don't remember the other two. I know one of them was Wayne Gretzky, which of course they call the Great One. Alex Ovechkin will go down as one of the greatest hockey strikers to ever play. One of the greatest hockey players to ever play. The fact that he dons a Capitals jersey and was drafted by the Washington Capitals and had a historic career there has been crazy. I do see him at the end of his career, not saying it's going to be this year, but the next few years is over with because he is kind of getting older. But hell, he has 18 goals, man. He's one of three players, I think. He's either 3 or 4. One of 3 players that can walk into hell. Sidney Crosby has, as great as Sidney Crosby is, he has like almost 250 more or 550 more, something like that. Alex Ovechkin is doing his damn thing, and of course, it does also feel good that he plays for the Washington Capitals. So, and there you have it, man. That has been today's episode of the Unpopular Podcast. I truly, truly appreciate you guys. I really do. Again, I'm asking you guys, please do not come into my comments talking spicy about Washington. I know Taylor Heineke is not a good quarterback. I know Taylor Heineke is not a starting quarterback. I know Scott Turner got to be out of there. I know that. I know. So unless you're coming to say, hey, I agree with you, just leave Washington out of it, because I've dealt with it. If you want an Unpopular Podcast shirt, hoodie, sweater, long sleeve, joggers, the link is in the description below. I have multiple different colors, multiple different designs. Whatever you're looking for, 9.999 times out of 10, I got you. Unless you're looking for sage, then that is that 0.1%. I don't got you. I appreciate everyone, man. I appreciate you. Go get your Unpopular Podcast merch today. Also, please subscribe to if you're listening. Please subscribe to if you're watching. I appreciate everyone that has supported me. Appreciate everyone that continues to support. It means a lot to me. It really does. So tell a friend, and I cannot grow without you guys. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It definitely means a lot. And until next time, much love.